Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. Ani, Wache, Sego, Bonjour, et bonjour tout le monde. Welcome. Welcome to this very, very, very special and important day today. I'm Lori Robinson, and I will be your MC for the afternoon. I want to acknowledge the drum that is here, the smudge, and the sacred items that are here today as part of this very important celebration. One item that was just brought to my attention that's of particular significance for one of our institutes is 7 Generations. And the current CEO, Brent Tukany, seated here in the front, brought an item with him today that's very, very important for the meaning that it carries for his institute. When he took over the leadership, he was handed an eagle feather from Delbert Horton, who is also here with us here today. Acknowledge you, Mr. Horton. Thank you for your leadership. And Brent brought this item with him here today, as I'm sure many of you did have special and sacred items that are meaningful to both yourselves and your institutes. So I want to acknowledge that. I also want to acknowledge the territory of the Mississaugas of New Credit, Chief Laforme. Welcome to all of you to the Ontario Legislative Building and to this event. This is marking a truly historic moment in time in post-secondary education and training. An incredible moment for government, for Indigenous communities, students, and children. To the chiefs and the heads of the Indigenous Institutes and their teams and students here today, and to the many supporters, thank you and welcome. We will begin our event today with a smudge and an honor song, and then we will hear from the Ministers of Advanced Education and Skills Development, Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, from chiefs, from one of the co-chairs of the Policy Co-Creation Table, from the chair of the Aboriginal Institutes Consortium, and a student who is enrolled at one of the institutes. He's here to share with us his experience in an Indigenous institute. As we move to get our event underway, I want to acknowledge the leadership in the room who have worked tirelessly to get the institutes to where we are. And again, acknowledge Delbert Horton, the board chairs, the many people who have been at this probably since about 1985, and if not before then. I also want to, in particular, if you'll all indulge me for a minute, to name these institutes, because they are very, very, very important to their students and to their leaders who are here today. So the institutes who we are celebrating today are Kenjigewintag Educational Institute in Manitoulin Island, Yohahio in Akwesasne, Ogohoe Skills and Trades Training Center in Six Nations, Six Nations Polytechnic in Six Nations of the Grand River, First Nations Technical Institute located in Tyendinaga, 7 Generations Educational Institute in 2 locations, Fort Frances and Kenora, Anishinaabeg Education Institute with campuses in Nipissing, Muncie, and I believe an operation that also was in Thunder Bay, Oshkosh Pimachouin, the Wenjack Institute in Thunder Bay, Chair Rosie Mosquito, and Shingwak Gnomage Gamig in Sault Ste. Marie. Minor housekeeping item, if anyone is looking for the bathroom facilities, located just outside of the room on your right. I'd now like to welcome Brenda Mason to come forward and offer an opening for us. Ms. Mason comes from Sandy Lake First Nation, and among her many contributions as an elder, she serves the students and the leadership of Oshkosh Pimachouin in Thunder Bay. You got you, Brenda.
Please come and smudge your second item and the drum. If you haven't done that yet. So when I like to smudge, please come and do that. Miigwech. Deb Matthews, one of them guys, we're gonna never stomach to get one, we're gonna get one. They said my name is Brenda Mason, and my Anishinaabe name is Mamajna Gujagar. In English, translates to imprint hanging, standing woman. I came from Sandy Lake, that's where I was raised. Know them, I'm Skuneben, a red sucker, belong to the fish clan. I'm a grandmother, and today my home is Thunder Bay, where I came from yesterday. It was an honor to be asked to come and do an opening here today on a very special occasion, especially for our people. And I'm Oji Cree, and I speak my language, and I will do the prayer in my language, and I usually speak to it afterwards for those that don't understand the language that I speak, but also to keep in mind that I come from way up north, where I was raised, and that is where I speak the language from. But first I want to acknowledge our children, the babies that are coming up behind us as we set a path for them. They're the ones why we are here. Just our ancestors set a path for us as the Indigenous people that we are called today. And then that's who I am standing here for, but especially my granddaughter. She's 7 years old, and I'm setting a path, hopefully that things will get much easier for her as she continues to walk on her path. She's here for a purpose, just as we are all here for a purpose. But to celebrate today, our people are why we are here as well. The ones that are looking to get education so that they too can do their work. And to do it in a way that gives life to each other, to all people. I don't mean just Anishinaabe people, all people. Our elders always remind us we have the teachings, we have the medicine wheel that has 4 colors. So everyone is inside the medicine wheel. All colors are, we all belong here. So we will find a path, we will find a bridge that we are coming together to live in harmony and peace. So I say miigwech to each of you for all the work that you have done. And you have set a path for success, but especially to live in harmony with each other. So with that, I'm going to say my prayer in my language. Miigwech k'shamanitu, miigwech nogam gagizgak. Ganakumen shawan mashiang. Wegzakiwan gazatsizun. Epistamin jagatek nogam gagizgak. Weganaks kamang. Webezagan kiun. Gaganam jagatek. Kinamagewan. Kenina und ka nadam damang. And the gab jos me to the mango and then kiunan. Day nanguns. Jagadam jagatek. We mikanan. Kayayang. Kazip musayang. Goyak to do the mang. Kakanage kong gimin slam. Kaya bastuang. Of my madziang akikang. Because kenen dan. We got our sick much by Zion. Kenin guys got what you going. Where's your mouth going, Semana do? Kinga kanage kunga te bendaman. Umaki kang. Once a minute addicts. Jonja mosto ang. Oye, kazagi wewan. Kazatizon. When I'm going to get go actually sick. Give just made moto atway and kiun. Can my gowns? Didn't grab in the mag. Gag means young. Where can my gown? Do the mango. Jiminda. Gawin o natin mga gawin. Tsakaram damang das. Gawin siya guys sick. Nabi, doon siya minakayang ko yaki sick. Skute, kung siya gusto ang day nangon siya. Kabas kanik. Kung siya bago namnanong, kaya siya guys sick. Kaya ninong kumagagizgak. Kaya kung siya bago namnanong. Namamaki. Kaya yung kaya siya kapag sa hang. Kaya nakikiyon. Kaya kuminagod. Kakanagagon. Tause. Kaya ba tuang. Pemati siyang kumaki kang. Maske, kagami na goang. Doon siya manayang. Doon siya paksan sa gatik. Miniyawan. Wanong kumagagizgak. So, ano matao na kumagaya puwat. Kasi papes guwat. Doon siya gusto wat wewas. Kasagi wewan. Kapis manan sa gatik, wala katausik. Kaganam sa gatik, wala kanamagayon. Koyak sa tut gatik, koyak sa masay gatik. Kasamigot sa nagawanak nagsiham na anak. Kaya sa gawin nawa, kapamat suwat nung ko. Kaya ka na magawa, koyak sa tutamang ko pamat sa sun. Migot sa kaya nung tanak, hapinon sisak. Gawin nawa may kapisawat. Gawin nawa nakiyon. Kaya tuta mo at makikang. May kwatsin na peso ka. Kasi ba peso ka rin na kakakanog. Apilon siya. May katong son hikang. Ani man siya ang ma. Wanong kong kaisik. Kasmiwat. Kasmiwat. Kasmiwat ako. Kasmiwat ito. So, may kwatsin. I just want to say a little bit what I said in my prayer in my language. Just being grateful for this day that we have reached, this beautiful day. And the reasons why that we are here and asking the Creator and saying requests to the Creator for the blessings that we have to each other and to all the people throughout the world. That the love that we have here and the compassion that we have, that it will spread out to all those people that need that today. And it doesn't matter where they are, that the love we have here today will spread out. And asking the Creator to bless each one of you and to continue to guide you in a way when you are doing your work that gives life to all of us. To all of us. We have been given the gifts when we came here to Mother Earth. We didn't come here empty-handed. We have the gifts that we carry in our heart. And to allow that to guide you as you continue to do your work from this day forward. Allow those teachings to be with you so that as you continue to do your work, that it will guide you. And those are ones that come behind you will also take those teachings, especially the Seven Grandfather teachings. Those teachings we need today. We've always had them. And we continue to learn those teachings, to take it in our hearts, to continue to guide us. I also especially said a prayer in gratitude for our elders that continue to be with us today, and saying miigwech to them for the teachings that they continue to role model, also to share with us, so that we too can walk on our path in a good way. And I also say miigwech to all the children that have come here also to do their work, but they need us to provide a loving role model for us to live together in harmony and peace. They need us to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. But we have those gifts to do that for our children. And you, as an individual, are responsible. But you're not alone. You're never alone. The Creator is always with you. So that I say, how, miigwech.
Miigwech, Brenda, for that opening. Friends, please allow me to introduce Nathan Shawanda from Shigawenda First Nation. He will provide us an honor song. He's currently enrolled at Kenjigewanteg, Manitoulin Island. And if you're able to do so, please, I welcome you to stand for this song.
Hey,
Miigwech, Nathan, for that song. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable David Zimmer, Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation to join you on this tremendously important day. This is a legacy day, and in the years ahead and the 7 generations ahead, people will look back on this day as a milestone in Indigenous education, and indeed a milestone in raising the importance of Indigenous education. I just wanted to make 3 points very briefly. First, I do want to recognize the early vision of Indigenous leaders when they promoted and organized and got behind and drove the concept of Indigenous Institutes. And the consortium that was behind that in the years, and particularly in the most recent years, when this institutes were raised to the level that they're about to be raised to today. The second point that I would want to make is I do want to thank my colleague Minister Matthews, your political team, and the OPS team under the leadership of Deputy Minister Sheldon Levy, because we had conversations a number of months ago, and this idea of a new role for Indigenous Institutes came up, and Minister Matthews, along with the consortium and Deputy Minister Levy, they seized on it just like that as a really, really important step on the road to reconciliation. Reconciliation and education and awareness just go hand in hand in all the aspects that you can think of. And lastly, I do want to, although she's not here, she's in China today, recognize Premier Kathleen Wynne. From day one, when she formed the government in 2003, she has been a passionate advocate of education in all its forms. But she has had a particular passion for Indigenous education because she saw both the need and the opportunity and the consequences for Indigenous communities over the years, over the next 7 generations, if we could get the Indigenous education piece right. Today marks a step in that right direction. And lastly, I just want to thank the entire Indigenous community for the pride that they are showing and have shown in education and the institutes in particular, for the confidence that they've shown that it can be done, and Indigenous leaders working through the consortium and all of the communities and working with government, we can all get this done together. And lastly, I thank the Indigenous community for their ambition that they've shown in this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Zimmer. Now I'd like to welcome Deb Matthews, the Honourable Deb Matthews. I'm going to try and get this right. Deputy Premier, Chair of Cabinet, Minister of Advanced Education and Skills Development, and the Minister responsible for digital government.
Thank you. Thank you, Laurie. And I have to correct your introduction. I too am a grandmother, and so my most important role is grandmother. And I'm just absolutely delighted to be here today. I confess to feeling pretty emotional today because we're celebrating truly a moment in history, and I want to say thank you. So, Ani, Shego, Wache, Buju, Tonsi, and I do want to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territory of Indigenous peoples dating back countless generations, and I want to show my respect for their contributions and recognize the role of treaty making in what is now Ontario. So thank you for being here. You are all here for one reason, and that is because you believe in our young people and you believe in the power of education. So thank you. I think it can be said that everyone gathered here today has a shared goal of supporting students to be the very best that they can be. As individuals, as members of and contributors to their communities, and contributors to Ontario. And we want them to have the very best experience possible at this time in their lives. And I think we're celebrating today does just that. As Minister Zimmer said, on November 14th, we made history. All of us made history together. The AIC, all of you, all of the people who couldn't make it here today, but who supported the idea and the process and the government, because without all of us working to the same goal, we would not be here today. But mostly I want to acknowledge the students, the Indigenous students of yesterday who went to residential schools, their parents and families, the students of today, and the many who have yet to join us. We made history by introducing groundbreaking legislation that, Suzanne, you're going to make me cry. Don't. This legislation, if passed, would transfer key functions of the post-secondary education and training system oversight to the Indigenous Institutes sector. The new legislation would recognize what we already know, that Indigenous Institutes are a unique and complementary pillar of Ontario's post-secondary education system. These vitally important centres of learning provide students with the opportunity to start their post-secondary education in an environment that is close to home, that is focused on student and community well-being, and reflects Indigenous identity and culture. It will also support the independence and sustainability of the institutes in Ontario's system. And I hope you will agree that this is an important step, a step on the path to recognition, to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. In fact, I would like to call this reconciliation in action. The legislation would create a framework for the ongoing collaboration between the Government of Ontario and Indigenous Institutes, and it would support a strong, independent Indigenous Institute sector overseen by an Indigenous-controlled and governed council. The council would, as part of its role, provide quality assurance for post-secondary diplomas, certificates, and degree programs offered by Indigenous institutes. And I think while we are absolutely supporting this legislation and is here to celebrate that, we are also celebrating the process that got us here. This was done through the process of genuine co-creation. The government, the Indigenous Institutes through the AIC came together, and it wasn't easy all the time, but came together genuinely committed to the co-creation of Indigenous Institutes. And I want to say thank you, Rosie Mosquito. Thank you. There are so many people to say thank you to today. Rosie, you're a superstar. Thank you. This is the result of joint policy co-creation between the Indigenous Institutes, represented by the Aboriginal Institutes Consortium, and the government. The success is a testament to the successes of our ongoing partnership. We are now challenging that partnership to grow and evolve into a new era. Embarking on a new frontier in times of transition can be challenging for all of us. The foundation of our partnership may be tested, but I know that we will continue to build that trust and move forward. I look forward to continuing our work in the spirit of reconciliation and mutual respect to improve educational opportunities for Indigenous students and support their success in Ontario's highly skilled workforce. Miigwech, chi miigwech, nawe. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Matthews. May I now introduce you to the Regional Chief of Ontario, Isidore Day, and I invite him to come forward and offer an address. Thank you, Chief.
Bonjour, Nguis Kweme Gasine, Indigenous Cause. Ganabajing Donji, Ganoje Dotem. I want to first of all acknowledge the Creator, creation, the prayers, and the protocols. And to thank Elder Mason for her invocation. It was very heartfelt to sit and listen to that and be part of this opening. For a number of reasons. I do want to acknowledge the territory. I want to acknowledge this House. I want to acknowledge the Eagle staff, the flags that are behind me, and the institutes that we're here to honor. In coming here today, I know that there's a lot of acknowledgements that must be made. Ministers, obviously, we're very much appreciative of our relationship with you. The Premier, we just are coming off of, and as a matter of fact, you crashed our party, Rosie. We're actually still in assembly. Our assembly is just closing right now. But it's actually quite fitting, ministers, that we see this as a continuation of our efforts and our work, and I'll explain that a little bit more. I want to acknowledge the chiefs that are with us. Chief Pro, where are you? You're at the back. Chief Brian reminds us that when we have these prayers and these openings, and I don't feel so bad now because I know this is a continuation of the work that we're doing. And I do have a number of my bosses here that are just keeping an eye on me as to where I am in hiatus of our assemblies. So I just want to open up with that. I do want to acknowledge a number of people here, but I would be remiss and a little embarrassed if I didn't acknowledge all of you. There are a number of faces here that I work with quite regularly, but there are some like Joe Muskokaman, former chief, Chippewa of the Thames, somebody that we all know and that many of us young leaders have learned from over the years. We acknowledge all of you. This really is an important process for me. I'll just give you a little bit of a personal slant as I come into these remarks because it's actually a little bit. I'm not going to start crying here because I've got a lot to think about. And as much as I can be really excited and emotional about this, I've got a lot to really think about in terms of where we go next because I have 8 years post-secondary education. Half of it was in the mainstream and half of it was with FNTI. I do want to acknowledge FNTI because, when I was in a career change, I was really posed with a very scary point in my life where I had to ask myself, what's next? Why is this all happening? And I seen FNTI on a bulletin board, and that was at the turn of the last century. And it's a long time ago, and I still have 2 credits to go for my degree, but I got called to lead in my community, and I'll be honest with you, I would not have been chief in my community for 10 years if I didn't have the education through these institutes. I can tell you that without a doubt. So I basically see this as a celebration, and on behalf of First Nation leadership in Ontario, I want to congratulate the 9 First Nation post-secondary institutes that make up the AIC and the province of Ontario for their hard work and dedication that has led us to this gathering and this very important and detailed work. I can't say enough about how much when I was brought in to understand what the AIC had done, it became quite apparent that with a very different worldview that we have about law and legislation and jurisdiction, that it was our First Nation leadership and the Ontario government that found a way with the leadership of AIC. And that to me it was something that was very significant. Obviously, Bob Ray and Rosie and others, Laurie Robinson. I'm getting into all the names here, but I know that there is a big team effort here, and what you actually did in recognition of what Laurie spoke about, what the minister spoke about, was you broke the yoke. There was a big challenge in how we were able to see First Nation jurisdiction occur. With this piece of legislation, it's not only opening up the door for legitimizing and substantiating the type of funding that we need, but an ability to recognize the jurisdiction of our First Nation institutions. That's very huge, and I think they deserve a big round of applause for their work. There is no doubt in my mind that this legislation will serve as a springboard for our already successful First Nation post-secondary institutions to flourish and grow, and continue to design and provide programs and services that reflect First Nations ways of knowing and ways of being. Our learners are hungry to learn in environments grounded in their languages, cultures, and values. This empowers them to pursue their hopes and dreams of being meaningfully employed and to strengthening their own well-being and wellness of their families, their communities, and their nations. We have made significant strides here on the road to reconciliation. I value this achievement as a signal of hope for future work to be undertaken in the true spirit of the treaty relationship and in full partnership, because there is still much work to be done. When I was asked to consider the regional chief position in Ontario, I had to ask myself a question. What is it that we all agree on? What is it that I can put in front of the chiefs that I know for sure, without a doubt in my mind and in my heart, that they will believe in as well, because it's really their mandate that I need to believe in. And it was securing a future for our children. And I could tell you that education has to be the most important step forward, first and foremost, and making sure that the nation-to-nation relationship will be successful. And I think what you've done here in breaking that yoke is you've actually created, not just for education, but for health, for economy, for our jurisdiction, our laws, to be recognized. And you simply have been able to put in action reconciliation. And again, I commend the province of Ontario, AIC leadership, and our students, right? We wouldn't be anywhere without our students. Let's continue doing this great work for them. Again, to the Premier, AIC leadership, thank you very much. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Chief Day. It's my pleasure to welcome Chief Ava Hill from Six Nations of the Grand River to come forward and provide some remarks. Chief?
Sego, thank you. Nyawa. So glad to be here. I'd like to first thank the elder and the young man who sang our song and for opening up our ceremony today. And I'd also like to take, take the opportunity to welcome everyone to the land of many nations who came together under the Dish with One Spoon Treaty, and also to acknowledge all those people from many nations who now reside in the city of Toronto. And I'm so honored to be a part of this event, which is recognizing the importance and the significance of Indigenous education, and to acknowledge the fine work that all the institutions have done. And I just wanted to echo the words of the regional chief about how important education is to our people. And I want to, as the chief of Six Nations, I want to say that I'm extremely proud that we have two institutions involved in the Aboriginal Institutes Consortium, Six Nations Polytechnic and the Unguhungwe Skills and Trade Centre. Both of them are doing excellent work in our community and incorporating the culture, the language, the history, and everything that is needed to make our education path for our kids so important and to lead them on in life. I know the regional chief told a personal story. Well, I'll tell a little bit of a personal story of mine and why it's so important that these institutions are in our communities. I'm much older than the regional chief because he said it was FNTI at the turn of the century, but when I graduated high school, there was no FNTI. And I wasn't given the opportunity. No one came to me and encouraged me and said, do you want to go to post-secondary? It was like, get out and get a job. So that's what I did. So Some people say, where did you go to post-secondary? I said the school of hard knocks. Because I didn't have that opportunity. Because my parents couldn't afford to send me away from home. But now that we have these institutions within our community, it is so important because those kids can afford to go. And if they're mature students with families, they can look after their families. And it's extremely important. I want to acknowledge the two ministers, as well as Minister Sandals and Deputy Minister Levi. Is that his name? Sheldon Levi? Levy? Sorry. For all the fine work that you've done. I mean, this legislation, which was co-created, that's the new buzzword, Deb, co-created between the Indigenous Institutes and the government, it's a testament. It's a testament to the commitment that was made by Premier Wynne when she signed the political accord with the regional chief 3 years ago. Was it 3 years ago? And this, I think this event today and the introduction of this legislation gives life to that accord. It's just so important. And as the regional chief said, we've been on the leaders of the legislature for the last 3 days. And I want to thank all those ministers that came down there. And we've talked about many of the achievements yesterday that we've had with energy over the last year. And these were accomplished as well through collaboration, through hard discussions, and because we co-created and we worked together in communication and collaboration. And this is a good example that other ministries within the provincial government should follow. I think it is so important that we work together. It is also a good example for the rest of the provinces in this country. I think Ontario is certainly setting the bar for the rest of the provinces and placing that importance and that significance on Indigenous education, and I commend you for that. And I challenge those other provinces to do the same in the spirit of reconciliation that you mentioned, Minister Matthews. I also want to thank all of the institutions and their staff and acknowledge the staff from Polytech. I don't know if anyone's here from OSTTC, but thank you. Acknowledge Bubba. Kevin Martin, sorry. But everybody at home calls him Bubba. And he's our prez. Thank him for all the hard work and the leadership, and Rebecca Jamieson, I know, who has worked diligently on education for many, many years. And I also want to acknowledge former Premier Bob Ray for his assistance and his guidance to these guys. Your hard work, your perseverance, and your passion for education has finally paid off. This is a historic day here for us, and you should all be proud of the achievements that we have reached today through the spirit of collaboration and co-creation. So when we do that, when we continue to do that, and other ministries continue to do that, we will continue to achieve successes for our communities and for the future generations that are coming behind us. Nyawa, thank you very much for having me here today.
Thank you, Chief Hill. I hope that got recorded because she just did an excellent message, an excellent advertisement for people to come to Institute. So miigwech for that. Appreciate that. So thank you for your words. I would now like to introduce you to Chief Janice Henderson from Matangigamig. Did I get it? Close? Almost close. Anyway, please, everyone, welcome Chief Henderson to the podium.
Bonjour, Okima Kwans Indigenous Kaz, Wajak Dodem, Matangigaming Donji. My name is Janice Henderson. I'm from the Muskrat clan, and I'm from Matangigaming, which is in the Treaty 3 area. I wanted to, first of all, thank the elder for her beautiful words, and to our the song that the youth sang. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate Anishinaabe education, our wisdom, languages, and people. It brings me joy to know that students from my community can continue to choose to get their education at home. In my treaty area, there were 3 residential schools, St. Margaret's, Cecilia Jeffrey, and St. Mary's. The education was imposed. It was delivered in an environment that did not support well-being, and we were not allowed to speak our language or practice our culture. So I say that because I'm speaking from a personal experience, and because I'm a 60 Scoop survivor, and I'm also an Indian residential school survivor. So I guess I'm aging myself, and I'm older than the regional chief too, much older. So today, we are in a different place. I'm very proud of our Seven Generations Education Institute. Seven Generations is a post-secondary environment where our students can learn their language. They are surrounded by family and cultural supports, where Anishinaabe students are strengthened as Anishinaabe people first, and then they can get a post-secondary education. We offer lifelong learning. So I'd like to acknowledge the leadership of Seven Generations and the other institutes, but if I may, I'd like to have the Seven Generations staff please stand so they can be acknowledged. So this group of people that stood on the shoulders of our aunts and uncles, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, and our ancestors. Treaty 3 was the first of the numbered treaties to have education as a covenant of the treaty. And I wanted to thank you, ministers, chiefs and leaders, and all the staff, every individual that made this day. This is extra special because we have changed the status quo. Seven Generations is also accredited and recognized through the World Indigenous Nations Higher Education Consortium. Today, Anishinaabe control of post-secondary education is recognized in the province of Ontario. Thank you, and I commend you for that as well. This has been a collaborative effort, as the previous speakers have indicated. So I'm just would like to close with saying that I'm looking forward to what the future holds for our future generations. Miigwech.
Thank you very much, Chief Henderson. It's my honor now to invite another Deputy Grand Chief to the podium. Earlier this week at the Leaders in the Legislature event that's taking place down at the Chelsea, I had the pleasure and the opportunity to be in the room when the deputy addressed the group, and he talked about education. And so how lucky am I to get you here, to hear you speak 2 times in a week and to have you part of this special day. So colleagues, welcome Deputy Grand Chief Derek Fox of the Anishinaabe Nation to the podium.
Good afternoon. I'm Deputy Grand Chief Derek Fox of Anishinaabe Nation. I first wanted to acknowledge the ministers, the chiefs, elders, students, and our young people, educators. I got, we're all here for education. And I have this personal experience with Seven Gens. My mother, or the mother of my sons, Fawn Wapio. She's a former chief of Shoal Lake 39. We were very young. We were about 21 years old, 22, trying to raise 2 boys. And she took that Queen's program. And if it wasn't for that program, I don't believe she would have succeeded. You know, she couldn't leave home. She was looking after my younger boy, who was more difficult than the older boy. So I've got this very personal experience with Seven Generations. You know, it was extremely powerful. My sons thank you for that. So in saying that, you know, it's myself. I'm educated. I went to law school. I went to university, high school, so on. And I struggled. I struggled as a student. I failed courses, and I didn't have that opportunity to use things like Oshki or Seven Gens. And it took me about 10 years to become a lawyer. I was like a professional student. People were asking me, when are you going to graduate? You know, because I had to keep taking courses over. I wasn't well balanced. I wasn't natural for the classroom. You know, I struggle with the bar exams. I struggle with every single aspect of school. So I wish that Seven Gens was available to me. At the time, I didn't know much about Oshkosh. I just struggled my way through Lakehead, U of M, Manitoba. So I'm very grateful and very thankful for these programs, these 9 institutes. And I'm here on behalf of Anishinaabe Nation and Oshkosh and Rosie. You know, when Rosie says you got to be there, we're there. She's like the boss. The Grand Chief Fiddler and I, we don't mess around when she says you need to be there. So I'm here today. But I just want to express to you, I can't say enough how grateful I am for these programs. Because I got 2 boys, and they're so grateful for these educators who were just who had just risen. And in saying that, Minister Zimmer had talked about this is a step forward. And for those who were at the Chiefs of Ontario meeting, I talked about language. And as a lawyer, I talk a lot about legislation, the law. And I think the next step needs to be legislating language, making language law, that right for our young people to speak their language. Because I'm 36 years old now, and I said this in my speech yesterday. I'm very proud of being a lawyer and educated. But there's a huge part of me missing, which is that ability to speak the language fluently. So if we're going to get education right, we need to ensure that our kids can speak the language. Otherwise, they're going to grow up, just like I did, missing that part of who they are. So as far as next steps, we need to legislate the language and ensure that our young people have that right to speak their language. So thank you once again, Miigwech, and thanks once again for all the hard work that you do. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Chief. Honored guests, please join me in welcoming the co-chair of the Policy Co-Creation Table that helped to get us here today. It's my pleasure to welcome the Honourable Bob Rae, former Premier of Ontario and longtime advisor to the Aboriginal Institutes Consortium.
Miigwech, thank you so much, and thanks to the Elder for the prayers today and for the wonderful honor song, and thanks for so many great comments today by the chiefs and everyone else. This is truly a day of celebration. Ministers, I want to congratulate you and thank you very, very much. A lot of talk about age today. I'm not quite sure why that is, and I'd like to change the subject, but it's been my pleasure to work with Indigenous communities of Ontario for a great many years and to have learned, I hope, a bit over that time. When the Premier McGuinty invited me to do a study on higher education in Ontario, I was approached by the Aboriginal Institutes, Rosie and others, to talk about the institutes in my report, and I was glad to do so. And when I retired for the 27th time and had the opportunity to free up and do some work, I was approached by the consortium again to say, we need to take the next step. And I got very excited. I thought this was a wonderful opportunity. So since 2014, we've been working away together. And I have to say that it's been a wonderful experience. And fair to say as well is that not everything that one does in public life is always wonderful, but this is great. This has been a fantastic journey. First of all, so I want to say thank you to a lot of people, but I won't mention everyone by name, but I want to thank all the members of the consortium, but most importantly, I want to thank the pioneers in education on reserve and in communities who have had a vision for a long time. And it's a vision that's based on the premise that nothing is more important than education. And I think it's very important for non-Aboriginal people to understand that tradition of education within First Nations goes back millennia, goes back to all time. Because it's a tradition of passing on, first of all, knowledge, facts, information, but it's also a tradition of passing on wisdom and learning and understanding. And I'm embarrassed to say that that tradition and that wisdom and that way of being was dramatically undermined by the decisions that were made by governments and by people in the past who completely undervalued the importance of these traditions. And we are all dealing with the impact of those terrible decisions, whether in the Indian Act or the residential schools or the misinterpretation of treaties. It's been a tough experience that we've all been through. But through that period, there have always been people who knew better. And really today we're honoring those people. We're honoring a long tradition. It's not just 5 years or 10 years or taking credit for this or that. It's all about understanding that there are people who have had this vision for so many generations that is deep inside the Indigenous traditions of this province and of this country. And to them we say thank you for holding up that torch, for holding up that feather, and for keeping the spirit alive. And then in a more practical way, people started coming down in the 50s and 60s and saying, well, how can we actually build institutes that deal with the fact that kids are dramatically underrepresented in community college and university, that too many people are being held back by a lack of education, and that the institutions themselves are not responding well enough to what Indigenous communities actually need. And so that was a gap that was being filled. And filling that gap, you need resources. So it's been pushing and prodding and getting money from one level of government and another level of government, trying to pull the programs together, trying to build the credibility, trying to build up the understanding throughout the system that, in fact, the Indigenous Institutes have so much to offer to students, and that what we're doing now is just tapping the surface of the potential that's there. And so we went to see Minister Moridi, and we presented him with the vision that we had developed. We started the process of developing. And I have to say, he responded almost instantly at our very first meeting in saying, this is great, I understand this, I know what you're trying to do, let's work on this together. And I have to say as well that there have been few other examples that I can think of where there's been a more positive partnership from ministers, from the professionals in the OPS, Deputy Minister Levy, when he came in as Deputy Minister, immediately saw the potential that this had and has made a great deal of difference in this, what we call co-creation. The co-creation process is, in fact, a model. It's a very good model. Why? Because it's based on mutual respect. It's based on understanding that things have to be done in real partnership, and that we've got to put all of our impressions of saying, well, we're going to do that. Okay, you've taken it this far. We'll take it on from here. And I guess perhaps it was part of my experience in government to say to my clients, to say, no, don't let that happen. You want to be right there, right at the moment the pen is on the page, or somebody's got their hand on the computer. You want to be there with them. And we've done that. The government has went along. And everybody would say, this is scary. We've never done this before. It's been exciting. But I do think it's a very important model. And I want to congratulate this government for recognizing the potential and for taking the risk. Because, of course, public servants and others will say, well, Minister, if you do this, there's a risk that this could happen, there's a risk that that could happen. And throughout the piece, at the end, people have said, okay, and Minister Matthews and I have had a couple of phone calls where she said, just tell me how this is going to work. And I said, well, we don't know exactly, but I think this is the direction. The purpose of what we're doing, just to be clear, and again, I'm speaking to many non-Aboriginal people who don't necessarily fully appreciate what's happening here. What we're doing is creating a program of recognition and of proper funding for institutions that have a long history in the province and whose work has gone largely unrecognized. We're allowing those institutions to grow, and we're allowing them to engage in positive partnerships with colleges and universities that are also going to have to partner as well in that same spirit of co-creation. And in so doing, we're going to ensure that we will have the best educated Indigenous people anywhere in the world in the generations to come. That we'll have more opportunities for people than we've ever had before. And that everyone will be able to dream, and not just dream, but realize their dreams through the opportunities that we provide. It's not just for young learners, it's for older learners. It's for people who've had kids and are now saying, I've had children, now where am I going to get my skills? I've got to get skills to get back into the workforce. And we're doing it in a way that is more flexible and that deeply reflects the values of the communities from which they come. So I also want to deliver one final set of thanks, and that is I want to give my thanks to Rosie and to all the members of the Institutes and to my colleagues at OKT who've worked so hard, and to thank everybody for giving us the confidence to advise you and help us get to this point. It's been a wonderful experience, and I want to offer my sincere congratulations. And as the poet says, the best is yet to come. Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you for that picture and the narrative, Bob. That was amazing and very, very, very important to share. As I agree, leadership is absolutely critical. The new deputy minister who has just come on board, Greg Arenchuk, has picked this up and taken this as a very, very, very important matter that needs to continue. I also want to acknowledge former Deputy Minister Sheldon Levy, who was here today, who would often say at the table during many of the conversations, on the telephone or in meeting rooms, and he'd say, we just have to hold hands together and jump. And we did. So, friends, it is my great pleasure to introduce you now to the chair of the Aboriginal Institute Consortium, Rosie Mosquito from Oshki Pimatuan Wenjack Institute, and just recently reappointed as chair again. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you, Rosie. Welcome.
Bonjour, YTA, good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here today. Marriage, Mustahi na nakumo and Diane, who I know come gagik shibag. Kitib no eso and Dia, Umagawabam nakuk kishihag, Ukmakanak, Ukmawan and Kinaganak, Gakana. It's truly a great honor to be here today in the presence of you, the elders, the chiefs, the leaders, government officials, my colleagues, students, everyone. It's truly a wonderful day. Minister Matthews and Minister Zimmer, thank you for your welcome to this house, this big house. I want to acknowledge, the territory that we're on today, and the territory of the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. And it's with great respect and honor that we truly are here as their guests. And some of you may not know me. I come from a remote community called Bearskin Lake, Michigan Sagi Ganig in our language, which doesn't even mean Bearskin Lake. Michigan Sagi Ganig means fish trap lake. So, It's just another era of the colonizers who came along, you know. They got lost. They thought they were in Bearskin Lake. So, but you know, in my community, it's the third most northerly community in Ontario. It's remote and it's isolated, and there are no roads in that community, and the roads. There are no roads that lead to the community, and the roads that are in the community don't go very far. And some people might even say those roads go nowhere, except in the winter. If there's a good winter, then we have a winter road network. And so in my community, we take airplanes the way that many of you here today take city buses. And so that's kind of the setting where I come from. But we're talking about roads. And Bob talked about the position paper, referred to the position paper that we presented to the government in the fall of 2014. That position paper was called the Roadmap to Recognition for Aboriginal Institutes in Ontario. And in the fall of 2014. And as Bob said, in warp speed. And I've said this with my colleagues. I've been involved in various processes within our community, within the Anishinaabe Nation, and within the Chiefs of Ontario. And I have never been involved in a process where we got to the yes so quick. It's like 2 months. Our first meeting with the first minister, the former minister of training colleges and universities. And every step of the way in this roadmap that we have engaged in, it has just been extraordinary, truly extraordinary. And so it has indeed been an exciting journey on this road. This road in which we're defining our recognition of our Indigenous Institutes in Ontario. It's been a long way, but yet in a short space of time. And it accelerated with extraordinary speed in the past year, where we held hands together and just jumped together. And it was through a robust co-creation process with partners around the table, our institutes and the various officials that were at the table. And everyone came to the table with high levels of commitment, goodwill, and trust. And that's what made it possible. And it has truly been a remarkable experience. So today, again, we are taking another leap forward to increase greater access to and success in culturally enriched post-secondary education and training opportunities to our people that will improve their quality of lives, that will resonate in their homes and in their workplaces and in their communities and in all our nations here in Ontario. Minister Matthews and Minister Zimmer, I want to thank you for your commitment to the co-creation process and for your determination to see the passage of the proposed legislation, the proposed Indigenous Institutes Act, during this legislative session. As partners, we will work with you as the bill works its way through the House. Together, we have made a bold step toward reconciliation and healing, towards a brighter future for everyone, not just Indigenous learners, but for Ontarians together, because together we will prosper. I want to thank you for your leadership, the leadership of your Premier and this government. As someone said, this is a legacy day. This is a legacy piece. And you are showing that to Ontario, to Canada, and the rest of the world. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the hard work of the former Deputy Minister Sheldon Levy, who's here with us today. And the Deputy Minister Greg Orenchek, who has now filled his big shoes, but has shown great promise, as one of our colleagues, Murray Wabu, said yesterday. He's demonstrated outstanding work in the short time that he's come on board as the Deputy Minister. And for that, we're truly thankful. And all your teams involved to make this happen, for all their hard work and their dedication. I wish to thank my colleagues, the presidents and the CEOs, and we look forward to the next phase of our journey of the roadmap to recognition of our institutes as the complementary third pillar in the Ontario post-secondary education system. We look forward to building on the successes that we have achieved so far and are excited about building on those successes, increasing the student enrollments in our institutes. All told, there were approximately 1,600 in the past year. We'd like to increase those, double and triple those as we move forward. Increasing the graduation rates within our institutes that already far surpass the graduation rate of Indigenous students in mainstream institutions in Ontario. We will be able to create new programs within our institutes in surroundings, in culturally safe surroundings that reflect the values of our communities, that incorporate the languages and the cultures and the Indigenous knowledge of our communities and our peoples. We are especially excited about the sustainable and predictable operational funding that will become available to our institutes. We have been operating on shoestring budgets from get-go, about 30 years. And we were very pleased that Ontario heard that message when we came to them in the fall of 2014. We said to them, we have a hard time keeping our lights on. We have a hard time keeping our lights on so that we can provide, these education and training opportunities to our people. And we're spending all our time piecing all these various pockets of funding to make that possible. So yes, we're truly excited, about sustainable, secure and sustainable funding for our institutes. And on that broader level, the roadmap to recognition for our institutes will enable us to decide for ourselves what is best for our people, for ourselves, for our students, for our communities, for the labor forces within our communities all throughout our territories. And finally, we truly do look forward to our continuing journey together in a transformative post-secondary education in Ontario as part of the reconciliation of our people. Miigwech. So while I'm up here, on behalf of the consortium, I'd like to make a couple of presentations. And the first one is that a gift of our appreciation to Minister Deb Matthews. In here is a cultural item. You may open it. You may open it for everyone to see. Beautiful bag. Yes. Oh, it's soft. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh, beautiful. So it's our, it's our symbolic commitment to continue to work with you in this robust co-creation process that has been truly remarkable and successful. Walk together. We walk together. Yeah, in a continuous spirit of association. And Mr. Zimmer. And again, on behalf of the consortium, we look forward to our journey together, moving forward in reconciliation and greater success. Mutual success for our people.
I too will. Well, as Minister Matthews has said, we'll all be walking together. Thank you. Thank you.
Miigwech, Rosie, and miigwech for that lovely presentation. This afternoon, as we gather here to celebrate this event, very, very important to reflect back to students, and that the student experience is what much of this work is all about. So I'm very, very pleased that we have some students joining us here today. First of all, I want to acknowledge them. And we have invited a student to come forward and share with us a little bit about his experience at First Nations Technical Institute in Tyendinaga. Really pleased to see Chief Miracle here as well today, joining and supporting his institute and his students. So please help me welcome Eddie Goff to the podium. He is originally from Magnetawan First Nation, currently living in Mississauga, studying in the social service worker program, and I believe he will be joined by Kajijis at the mic. Thank you, Eddie.
And then, hello, I'm Eddie Goff. My spirit name is White Thunderbird Eagle Man. And I'd like to, I'm currently a student at FNTI studying the social service worker program. And I'm honored to be here representing the students. I'd like to start by telling you a little bit about myself, my own journey, and how FNTI has helped support me and help me get to the, where I am today and going to become, and the man I'm going to become in the future. I was adopted at the age of 6 months old into a European Western family, and I really didn't grow up having any knowledge or connection with my roots, with my Indigenous roots. At an early stage in my life, I started to develop some identity struggles, some identity issues within myself. I didn't really always asking why am I different and who am I really? At an early age, I looked in the mirror, and the first thing I saw was fear, I think, and that created confusion. And it even eventually got to the point where I developed some self-hatred towards myself. I grew up through life in early adulthood, really trying to struggle with finding out who I was and who am I going to become. And a lot of those struggles became very painful at certain points in my life. But there was always something that I was connected with, always something that drew strength when I felt like I really didn't have any, and I didn't recognize it for what it was at the time, but I'm learning that that was my spirit, and that's something that with the help of FNTI and with the help of a lot of my elders and healers are helping me realize that I'm more than just a man. I was always a spirit, even before I was a man. Throughout my adult life, it eventually led me to my Indigenous therapist, which was really my first real connection with my roots and with my culture. And he took me under his wing, and I'll even call him my mentor. And we were sitting there one day trying to figure out together the direction and the next steps I was going to take within my life. And he was an alumni from FNTI, and I always knew, like, from my teenage years, I spent some time in group homes, and I'm like, you know, I want to help people. I want to inspire to become a social worker or some sort of healer and help others with maybe some of the struggles that I was struggling with throughout my upbringing. And then we were sitting in his office one day, and he said, let's just make this phone call. Let's call up FNTI. It was already, school had already started. I was a week behind, and we said, what's the worst that could happen? So we called up the school, and within a week and a half, I was on my way up to pursue my post-secondary education. I remember the first week of school was culture camp, and I stepped into the teepee that was on the land and at the school, and my first thought was, oh boy, what did I get myself into? Because this was the beginning of my Indigenous journey. But within probably about 5-10 minutes, I felt this completely calming feeling over myself, and I felt like I was finally home. I was embraced with love, with support, and whereas I thought I was coming up to school just to get an education and a future career, it became so much more for me. It became a sense of family, it became a sense of love, and it became a sense of support. And a connection with my people and with the community and with family that I never knew I was able to be a part of. Since coming to school and meeting elders and learning from elders, I'm doing my own personal healing and my own personal growth as an Indigenous man. They've supported me so much beyond just getting an education. I've actually just over the summer I stepped back onto the land where I'm from, and they supported me and actually came with me with this journey. And I actually ended up meeting my biological family while I was there, who actually my nephew is here, and it was just coincidence that we ran into each other, but my life has come so far. And just with this Indigenous style of learning, when we're sitting in a room together and I'm sitting across from people, other students, like, there's so much more than just education there. There's a connection, there's a feeling, there's spirits connecting, and that's something that I was always seeking throughout my life, but I didn't know where to find it. And coming together at FNTI with the students, with the teachers, with the elders, with the healers, with all the supporting faculty, I actually feel like I'm becoming the man I'm supposed to be, fulfilling the pre-chosen destiny that I had when I spoke with the Creator before I was born. And although there was some struggles and times of pain, all those have been important lessons and important knowledge that I'm going to use within my professional career, hopefully helping others within the social worker field, but also learning how to help reconnect me with my family, my adopted family, my biological family, and just, again, become the man I want to be and the man I'm supposed to be. And today, when I look in the mirror now, today I see somebody that I love. I see a proud Indigenous man, a man that I've been waiting to meet my whole life. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Eddie. Thank you for joining us here today, because we've been waiting a long time to meet you too. And we're so pleased that you could join us. And thank you for sharing that student experience. Probably a lot of the heads of the institutes right now we're sitting there listening to Eddie, thinking about how many times they've had other students like him come to their doors or tell them about these experiences. So, you know, on this very important historic day of learning and learning more, I encourage all of you to continue to learn more about this piece of legislation that is coming forward. Learn more about these institutes. All the leads are here today. Ask questions, reach out, extend the partnerships. Want to acknowledge the university and college partners who are here today. Very, very important for us all to continue the journey together. So as we come to a close for our day, I want to thank Gajija Sais and Eddie for coming forward and speaking and sharing with all of us. Thank all of you for coming. As we opened with a traditional opening, we will close in the same way. We'll invite Brenda to come back forward. I'm not sure where she is. Right there. There she is. Sorry. And she will do that. And as you've seen on the side of the room, there is some food available. When Brenda's closed, that will be the close of our day. Please invite you to stay, talk to each other. Our ministers will be staying for a little bit of time to talk with all of you and continue our conversations. This is just the beginning, a very, very important one. So I'm so pleased to have been part of this day today. I want to thank the consortium for inviting me to be your MC this afternoon. Look forward to answering questions and providing any assistance I can. And please enjoy the food and visit and socialize when Ms. Mason is done. So miigwech to you all.
Wow. There's something, if you bear with me, there's something that's been running through my mind as I sit here listening. The stories. There's one of my students the other day reminded me of an analogy that I often used before. And that is, you know how in your homes there is one plant, I call it plant, that always grows. Many of us call them weed, and that is a dandelion. And so often I hear of chemicals being used to put away this dandelion, this weed. But as we all know, it always comes back, no matter what we have used on that dandelion. It always comes back. And to me, it's a beautiful, beautiful plant. That, to me, is who we are as Indigenous people. We do not give up. We never have, and we will never will. And that is one of the reasons why we are here today. We did not give up. Just as dandelion never gives up. So we walk with dandelion today. We do not give up. I wanted to share that. So one day you might remember the dandelion as you spray it. It's going to come back. And one more thing. It's just something I was laughing at myself about. Back in Thunder Bay, I often go to the bush. That's where I get my education, is from the Creator. the energy that exists among the trees, among the flowers, among the waters, among the air. That is my education today. So I am a student every day. That never stops. I never stop learning. And this morning I went for a walk in this big, beautiful city, looking for a bush. And I came back and said I did not find the bush. But the big city itself is a bush, because the Creator does not divide the earth. We say this territory, that territory over there. The Creator does not divide the earth. I too not divide the earth. I belong to the land. Even if I could stand in China, I belong to the land. This is what we have been given, and we have responsibility to take care of our Mother Earth, take care of our water, our fire, our air, everything that we need to live upon Mother Earth. To do this, we do this for our students, for our children that are coming up beside us today. So in closing, I want to say miigwech to each one of you for being here and taking this responsibility to carry, to get us through where we need to be. And not to forget, you came from the spirit world. You came from there. And in the opening prayer, I said, you're not alone. You're never alone. Even if you stand alone, you are not alone. We are with you, always. And when it goes to that young man that shared his story, we hear those stories all over the place. And I'm so proud to belong to all Indigenous people. As a child growing up myself, I did grow up. I used to think, and still today think, I belong to all Anishinaabe, all First Nations across the world. I don't know, I grew up with thinking that way. I still think that today. Even though today I know there's Ojibwe, there's Ojibwe, all the First Nations people. I still see myself belonging to you as I belong to the Creator. So in closing, I'd like to say miigwech to each of you. And I'd like to ask each of you if you can stand and hold hands. We were told to join hands, and we are doing that today to symbolize how we are all jumping in together and to carry the song, the teachings that we have within your hearts. We got to do. We got to know gak. Kanakaman. I mean, it's got take. We got to sick. To Japan got take where and kill Kanama given and je. I show them Shan guys back as again where because I given because I just on. Oh, we watch. We watch.
Rosie, well done.